Welcome to another episode of the Executive Interview Series. Today, we are thrilled to have with us Matthew Kyle, the co-founder of weConnect, a company that specializes in guiding businesses through the complexities of international expansion while ensuring compliance with local laws and regulation. Matthew, thank you for joining me for this interview.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to make international expansion fun, educational, and exciting.
Amazing. We are looking forward to that. Now, to kick off the interview, can you provide us an overview of how does weConnect services?
Sure. I mean, let's be honest. International expansion raises the stakes. Your growth opportunities improve, but the consequences of your errors are just magnified. So, in order to avoid those errors, we try to help companies identify them and allow them never to experience them. And we do that by managing a big part of international expansion, which is payrolling talent that they recruit on our entities if they don't have their own entity in a country yet, or managing the entity compliance of entities they have around the world by setting them up, getting them bank accounts, doing all the accounting, payroll, HR, tax, and foreign entity compliance called corporate secretarial compliance. So these two parts of international expansion are quite daunting. They kind of come along with the story, but companies aren't expanding, to take on these complexities. Companies aren't being founded to take on these complexities. They just come along with, they just come along with it. And so we're trying to take them these complexities away from them as they expand, so they can just focus on, making a better product, making a better service, building their business.
Brilliant. Thank you for that introduction. Now, it would be great for our viewers as well if you could give us an example of, a company that weConnect has actually assisted in expanding internationally, and also if you could highlight the benefits that they receive from working with weConnect.
Sure. Well, there's a lot. A few come to mind, but one I really feel is a quintessential example of how we help companies. It's a company called PDC. They're a startup from the US. They basically make machines that compress gas and all types of gas, hydrogen, all these types of things, so the gas can be moved around the world or deployed in the world. And they started their international expansion into China in 2015. Set up the wholly owned foreign entity there. It's called a WFOE. And then we handled all of their registrations with the tax office. Of all the countries in the world, China is one of the more complex. It's not just a checkbox kind of approach where you get all the 26 checkboxes right and you get your company in China. You need a few relationships to move the process along in an expeditious manner. So we help them get into China. We help them handle all the tax registration, payroll registrations, setting up their international accounting system that could work for them, so they could see the financial health of their Chinese business while also respecting Chinese tax law. And in China, I always like to share little tidbits about each country. But in China, there are these things called fapiao, and that's basically a receipt. And in a lot of countries, you get a receipt, it's a piece of paper. But in China, the government issues a machine. It looks like an old telephone, or a big receipt issuing machine that you see at a point of sale location at a store. And every time a transaction happens in China, you have to push the button on this big machine and give a receipt. So it's not just like set up and go. You have to do all these things in order to function compliantly in China or any country. And I think that's a big part of what we're doing. And then where weConnect really amplifies and has innovated like no other company is that when they go to the next country, and PDC's next country was South Korea, everything that we've set up for China, everything that we've learned, the shareholders, the ultimate beneficial owners, all this documentation, all this stuff that will derail executives when they go to their next country because they're trying to focus on the commercial, they're trying to focus on finding new clients, trying to focus on building the business. Now they have to go to South Korea. And traditionally, you would have to go to new Korean lawyer, a new Korean accountant, a new Korean tax licensed specialist to get all this stuff done. But with us, with the second country, everything has been documented about who this company is, what they're trying to do, with the preferences of systems and processes we can apply. So the next country, really, it takes us a lot of time to set it up, but the time it takes for the client to work with us for the next country is minimized to hours. We had another company that was set up in Japan and Hong Kong. We set up their accounting system in Italy. It took 15 minutes of their time. And to some people out there, CFOs or financial controllers or people that are hearing this, it sounds too good to be true, but we could put you in touch with the client. It really is quite innovative because, a lot of people have preconceived notions that setting up new countries is going to take like this huge endeavor. And yes, it still will on the commercial side, but we can remove all these other complexities, the plumbing of your company, the payrolling, the accounting, all this stuff, just leave it to us. And we'll put it into a system that's consistent with the previous country and your headquarters, so you don't have to really worry about it. And then PDC expanded to Japan. They expanded to Australia, set them all up there. They had already gone with another provider in Germany because, basically I wasn't doing a good enough job at marketing. and then, they've realized now we can help them in Germany. So now they're transitioning Germany to us. So they can have all 5 of their countries under one, team, system, platform. And, it really saves them a lot of time.
Brilliant. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Now, it would be great, for my next question, if you could explain the employer of record service which is offered by weConnect, and exactly in which situations would a company find the service to be particularly beneficial?
Yeah, so I can go back to PDC for this. So when PDC set up in Australia, they, one of the funny things about international expansion is that there's a lot of different work streams. There's the legal work stream where you get your company set up, where you get your documents in order, your terms and conditions, whatever you're trying to do. There's usually some documentation and legal process that needs to happen. Mm-hmm. And then there are HR people or commercial people trying to find talent to represent you in that country. Now, in a most ideal situation, these executives are talking to each other every day, updating them on the process and timeline. But in reality, it just doesn't happen. So with us, PDC could come to us and say, hey, we're setting up in Australia. They tell us in, let's say it was last July. And they're like, yeah, we're going to get our entity set up. We're not in too much of a rush. We think it's going to take a little bit of time to find somebody. And then next week they find like the most amazing person. And they're like, we have to hire this person right now, otherwise we're going to lose them. And so we say, okay, hire them on our PTY LTD, our Australian entity. We'll payroll them. We'll do all the superannuation. We'll do everything that needs to happen to make this compliant, to hire this person, make them feel secure, make them feel you're committed to them while we set up your PTY LTD. That way, the HR processes and the legal processes, they actually don't have to be synced up anymore. And that was required, 5, 10 years ago, and of course before. So employer record is a good way to secure talent before you have your own infrastructure to payroll them. It also could be a solution where you want to hire talent in a country that you really have no commercial, ambitions, but there just happen to be this amazing person in Nigeria or this amazing person in Cambodia, wherever that you want to hire that will contribute to your business, but you don't have commercial, ambitions there. So you never really will set up your own entity. There's no reason to. 5, 10, 20 years ago, you had to, basically, unless you, hire them as a contractor, but that comes with its own issues and complexities. But generally, if you want to payroll someone in a country where you don't have commercial ambitions, we can hire them under our entity, payroll them for you, make sure they're taken care of and secure, they're getting all of their taxes taken care of, et cetera, et cetera. And that's another reason to consider employer of record. But most of our clients are using us for employer of record when they, anticipate an entity in the next 6 to 12 months. We'll, payroll their talent while they get the infrastructure set up, and then we'll move them over seamlessly. Basically, we're the only company in the world that is privately owned and can do employer of record and entity setup and compliance together. Everyone else is basically doing either employer of record and maybe global payroll. And then all these other firms are doing entity setup, tax, accounting, banking, payroll. So, the global landscape of providers is basically a little biased because these providers over here, they will say that employee record, there's issues and there's problems, which is true generally, but in specific situations, it's totally fine. And then the employee record, companies over here naturally are just a little bit of bias, and they want you to stay on employee record for as long as possible because that's how they make money. With us, we're completely unbiased, and we'll say, we think employee record makes sense here. We think entity setup makes here, or you have to because of X, Y, and Z. And then we'll move these people over to the entity when you're ready or when it makes sense, because the reality is we are earning revenue either way, so we don't need to be biased. We can just tell you how it is.
That's brilliant. I swear the work that you're doing is assisting so many businesses to actually expand globally. And we're definitely hearing firsthand from you about the benefits. Now, for my next question, I would like to ask you, how important is accounting and tax compliance for businesses which are actually looking to expand internationally? And how is weConnect able to assist with this as well?
How important is it? Very important. Imagine if you do something wrong in Australia, then the ATO is knocking on your door, saying like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they're bothering you. They're distracting you from your commercial growth. Now imagine that happening in China, right? Do you want the Chinese tax authorities knocking on your office in China, and then you get a call in Sydney, and everyone's like, "What's happening?" You don't want that. Now that solution, that problem can be solved with a lot of providers. I mean, most providers traditionally are focused on doing accounting for the country to ensure that tax filings are done correctly, so that in the case that the tax authorities of Singapore, China, the US, the UK, you name it, knock on your door, there's someone that can then answer it and say, "Listen, everything's fine. Please leave us alone." Most companies and firms in our industry are focused on solving that problem. And that's fine, that's great. But where we really differ is that's really the compliance piece of the finances. But there's also a company commercial side of the finances, which means like if there are investors for a business, depending on how far they get their hands dirty, they may want to know where their money's being spent. They may want to know how the business is doing, and a good indicator of how a business is doing is the financials, right? And so in order to get, the financials from a country like China, the US, Japan, Korea, Nigeria, Germany, wherever, Vietnam, into a format that can be understood globally, traditionally what would happen is you would hire accountants in each country. They're going to do it in a local policy format and currency. And what that means is you're going to get a big list of accounts in Chinese or Vietnamese or German or US format, so that accountant in that country can do the tax return easily. So they're doing their job so that it's easy for them to do the tax return. Now, nothing wrong with that, but it actually creates a ton of work at headquarters. So what we found is that when companies go with this approach, they're basically getting all these different reports from all these different countries in different currencies, formats, policies, and then they have to consolidate, which means take all those formats and put it into an Australian format in Australian dollars in one, policy, so that then the Australian, finance executives can give what's called a management report to the CEO or whoever needs it to let them know what is really happening in the business. So with us, however, we're the only company in the world that will do China, Korean, Brazilian, US accounting in Australian standards, Australian policies, and Australian dollars. And then we will adjust for the tax returns in a procedural way so that that's all fine. And then we'll also defend an audit if that ever happens. But this allows us to get the financials to headquarters in a day. Traditionally, it's taking headquarters 2 to 6 to 8 weeks to figure everything out, depending on how many countries you have, and get a managed report to the CEO to tell them what's up. We're taking away all that time because we report every country in their format, they can then do a management report in 2 days, and the CEO knows what's happening very, very quickly, or whoever needs to know. We think that's incredibly powerful because no one really does it. And it's really my job to educate the world that, especially finance executives, that this is how it should be done. But it's, one brick at a time, one brick at a time.
Absolutely, Matthew. And you have really highlighted for us that how your business is different from other services that are being offered. But is there anything else that you would like to touch upon, for our viewers as well to actually understand that distinction? Any other benefits that you would like to share with us?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think I'll just try to recap. So, employer of record and entity set up and compliance together. We're the only privately held company doing that. And we're going to make it seamless no matter which service you choose. And we're very unbiased in that approach. Another thing is that we really ask clients, we promise clients not to repeat themselves. No one's perfect. Sometimes you have to repeat a word or two here and there. But generally, we're trying to capture everything that you do in the first country so we can apply it to the second country so you don't have to repeat yourself. And that's huge because, executive time at headquarters is expensive and valuable. Also, another preconceived notion of our industry is that, it's a people business. So when you expand throughout the world and you sign a contract with a big brand, you're really the service you're getting is only as good as the person that's assigned. So in every company, they have good people and they have okay people and they have bad people. So if you get assigned a okay or bad person at a big brand, you're still going to have a bad one, right? And that's traditionally how the industry has worked. The legal industry, the accounting industry, the tax industry, the professional service industry, whoever you get assigned is what it's going to be. It's just like going on a tour on vacation. If you go on a tour with a big tour company and you get a bad guide, it's not going to be a fun tour, right? It's the same thing, right? So with us, we're really not selling a person, we're selling a process. And that way we can really control for quality so that, we've handpicked everybody in our team as we've grown throughout the world, because that's another issue with our industry. Usually big companies grow through acquisition. So when a big competitor of ours, sets up a new office in this country to support companies expanding there, typically they're acquiring a local business that has their own culture, their own mentality. And that comes with its own issues because that creates a difference in quality and experience for the client. With us, we're going brick by brick because, we're privately held. We're not looking to exit anytime soon or ever because we really enjoy what we do. And that allows us to be patient. We don't need to hurry up and hustle. We're going as fast as we need to go. And we build it brick by brick because everyone that joins our team, we have to make sure that they've not been corrupted from the traditional industry where they think they have to do things X, Y, and Z when we do things A, B, C. Right. And then I think another big thing is we really don't sell anything we're not great at. I can't tell you how many times growing up, just coming up in my career, where I would look to my boss or my senior, and they're trying to sell something that we suck at, right? Like we are just awful, but the client has no idea. The client has no idea, right? The whole idea of a trusted partner is that they're going to guide you as best they can, and I guess that's true, but oftentimes they're trying to do things that they have no experience doing. They have no idea what they're doing, but the client has no idea because the client knows less than them, right? So we're really only out here trying to, pitch, sell, however you want to say the word. We're trying to offer services that we are great at, and if we're not great at, we will connect you. We connect to someone that is great at it, and that allows me to sleep great. I woke up this morning, I slept like a baby last night. We do services in 86 countries. I'm not worried because we're only doing things that we know we're good at within a controlled process with handpicked people.
That's brilliant, Matthew. Now, as a parting question, it would be great if you could tell our viewers what should they be excited to see with weConnect in this year. Any milestones that you've set for yourself that you're looking to achieve?
The milestones really are just keep building brick by brick and do things that make sense. Don't try to do things outside our comfort zone. In the last 5 years, we've grown to 600 clients with solutions ready to go in 86 countries. That's already quite a milestone. We have clients that give us testimonial that say, we've never worked with anyone better than weConnect. I mean, that's just, I mean, what more do you want, right? Another good thing is that Xero, which is a very loved accounting system in Australia, they gave us an award for as their emerging partner in Asia, and that's because we were able to leverage their system in countries where they had never invested. So, for example, Xero, out of the box, it works in Australia, connects to the bank account. Same with Thailand, same with Singapore, UK, US, but it doesn't do that in Japan, Vietnam, China, Korea, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Germany, Spain, Italy. I'll go on, right? But we've been able to give clients a very consistent experience leveraging Xero if they want across the world. And so Xero has given us award to acknowledge that. Of all accounting firms, and there are a lot of accounting firms, of all accounting firms in the world, they gave us that award for our kind of development of giving clients the Xero experience in countries where Xero did nothing to invest. So I think very exciting. I think for all the finance executives out there, or all the investors out there that may like Xero but may need a better system, we do Xero to NetSuite, SAP, Oracle, all these different higher level accounting systems. We do transitions all the time, every month, and it takes us 1 to 2 months. A lot of people think that heavy duty accounting systems take a year to implement. It just doesn't.
Amazing. Well, Matthew, thank you so much for coming on for this interview and sharing these wonderful benefits that weConnect is providing to companies globally. It has truly been a very enlightening conversation. For our listeners, if you're interested in learning more, please see the details on your screen or in the description. And stay tuned for more engaging interviews in this executive interview series. And Matthew, again, it has been wonderful speaking with you today, and I wish you all the luck with your venture moving forward.
Thank you so much. And see everybody in Emergence in March. I'll be down there.
Brilliant. Thank you.